Wealth on the decline for Aussies. Brexit? Australia's biggest brick maker considers a WA exit. $1 million payout for a poison hot chip. Welcome to Trading Up, a collaboration by The West Australian and Grapher. I'm Sarah Hughan. This episode is brought to you by Stake, Australia's most recommended broker. If you feel like you have less money now than a year ago, it's not in your head. You are officially poorer, according to data from Australia's stats agency. Household wealth is now 3% lower than a year ago. On average, the value of your house has slumped by about 3%, and your super is almost 7% lower since 2021. Households weren't the only losers. The country's biggest brick maker, Brickworks, also lost about $32 million in WA. Now it's considering a Brexit. That's a bricks exit from WA because it's losing money. Considering about 90% of new houses in WA are built with brick, a Brexit by Brickworks could be a big problem for WA's housing market. The stock market also dipped into the red today, mostly in reaction to the rate hike by the US Federal Reserve. Which brings me to the word of the day. Dovish. The interest rate hike in the United States has been called dovish, which is the jargon for not very aggressive, like a sweet little dove. The Federal Reserve raised rates in the United States by 0.25%. The opposite of dovish is hawkish, which means aggressive. So the question for all bird watchers is, what bird will the RBA be when it considers interest rate settings in Australia next month? BetaShares chief economist is saying he is spotting just one dovish rise in April, then a pause. Moving from the birds to the mammals and a bullish prediction for Bitcoin. The crypto bulls are back, with crypto exchange Gemini now spooking Bitcoin at 100k. Gemini says the problems in the global banking system have spurred Bitcoin, which has rallied almost 70% so far this year. The ASX stock darling of the year, semiconductor company Weebit Nano, is raising $45 million. If you go back to some of the previous episodes of Trading Up, we talked about Weebit Nano, the tech company that's minting Aussie millionaires. Anyway, its shares dipped over the last couple of days. The ASX then issued a "please explain," and then it said yes, its shares fell because it's raising capital. But the company denies any news of this raise was leaked. A few other notable stocks went to the moon today. Argonaut Resources announced lithium drilling has begun at its Higginsville project in WA. Oil and gas explorer 88 Energy announced good results from its drilling in Alaska. And Kunico had positive drill results from its cobalt project in Norway. And finally, a Bunbury mother has been awarded a $1 million payout for eating a chip from Chicken Treat that was laced with caustic soda, not salt. The Chicken Treat franchisee is appealing the court's decision. You can find more business news content on thewest.com.au. Or to see all the data and insights behind this video, check out grapher.com. Thanks for joining me on this special episode of Trading Up. I'm Sarah Hughan. See you next time.